Welcome to this explainer. Okay, if you're looking to transform that sloped block of yours into a perfectly level, usable oasis, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're going to demystify the legal, structural, and neighborly complexities of building a retaining wall in New South Wales. I know, it sounds a bit daunting at first, but with the right information, it's a completely manageable journey. All right, let's quickly run through what we're covering today. First up, planning your wall. Then we'll hit the 3 approval pathways, tackle boundary walls and neighbors, dive into essential engineering and drainage, and finally wrap the whole project up. Let's get into it. So, starting right off with Section 1, how to plan your wall. Look, we all want that dream outcome, right? The perfectly landscaped garden. But without the right planning up front, you're looking at a potential backyard nightmare. We're talking severe council fines, forced demolition orders, bitter neighbor disputes, or honestly, worst of all, a collapsed wall just because the groundwork wasn't right. Knowing the rules first, that's what protects your investment. So, if there is one crucial point to remember here, it's the magic number. 600. In New South Wales, 600 millimetres is basically the absolute maximum height for a retaining wall before formal council approval rules start kicking in. Keep it at 600 mil or under, and you're usually operating in what's called exempt development. That means no formal paperwork is required before you start digging. Now, here's a fascinating little rule that actually catches a lot of people off guard. Councils don't just measure the exposed blocks you see above the grass. No, they strictly measure from the lowest natural ground point right up to the highest top of the structure. And yes, that includes all the soil fill behind it. So, say you excavate 300 millimeters down and retain 400 millimeters above ground, well, congratulations, you've got yourself a 700 millimeter wall and you absolutely need approval. Moving right along to Section 2, the 3 approval pathways. You can kind of think of these 3 pathways like climbing a mountain. Exempt development, that's the flat path, easy, no paperwork, but you're limited to walls up to 600 mil high and you got to be at least a meter from your boundary. Complying development, or CDC, that's your direct route up. It allows walls up to a meter provided you meet strict state standards and use a private certifier. And finally, the development application, the DA. That's the full expedition for walls over a meter or in sensitive zones, which requires full council assessment. Oh, and let's quickly bust a really common myth right now. A lot of folks think they can just build 2 500 millimeter tiered walls close together, maybe pop a nice garden bed in between, and just sneak past the rules. Unfortunately, no way. If those tiers are within 2 meters of each other, the council legally views them as one solid 1 meter wall. So that pushes you right back into needing full approval and structural engineering. Now, if your grand design does push you into DA territory, you're going to need your DA toolkit. You can't just hand over a napkin sketch here. You need comprehensive architectural elevations, specific site plans that detail your Australian height datum levels, and really crucial technical documents like structural engineering plans and a geotechnical soil report, just to ensure the ground can actually handle what you're trying to build. Okay, Section 3, boundary walls and neighbors. If there is just one thing you take away from this part, it has to be the law of support. Under Section 177 of the Conveyancing Act 1919, you have a strict legal duty of care. Basically, this means you absolutely cannot do anything on your property, like, say, excavating super close to the fence line that removes physical support from your neighbor's land. Because if their yard starts slipping into yours, you're the one liable for negligence. And that brings us to the money question. Who actually pays for a boundary wall? It all comes down to the who benefits principle. It's actually pretty logical. If your neighbor decides to cut into a slope to flatten out their yard, they're the ones altering the natural ground level for their own benefit, right? Therefore, they are legally on the hook to build and maintain the wall that supports your higher land. But well, what if things go sour and you just can't agree? If that happens, follow these 3 steps. First, always start with a friendly chat and get a professional boundaries survey. That removes any guesswork about where the wall actually sits. If talking totally fails, escalate to a community justice center for free, informal mediation. And listen, only use the courts like NCAT or the Supreme Court of NSW as an absolute last resort. Unless you really just enjoy burning money on legal fees. All right, on to Section 4, essential engineering and drainage. Any significant wall has got to be built to strict standards, specifically the AS 4678 Australian Standards for Earth Retaining Structures. The standard is all about calculating lateral earth pressure, which is just the sideways push of the soil. And that is exactly why having a structural engineer is literally vital, especially if you're dealing with tricky ground conditions like reactive clay or shifting sand. Now here is a genuinely fascinating fact.
The absolute biggest threat to your beautiful new wall? It isn't actually the dirt it's holding back. It's hydrostatic pressure. That is the massive, invisible weight of trapped water pushing against the structure after a heavy rain. If that water has nowhere to go, I promise you, even the most heavily reinforced concrete wall is eventually going to bow, crack, or just completely fail.
So, to defeat that immense water pressure, your wall needs this exact drainage arsenal. We're talking agricultural pipes or Aggie pipes running along the base. You need clean gravel backfill behind the wall to quickly guide the water down to those pipes. You've got to have clear weep holes built right into the face of the wall, and the whole shebang must connect properly to your property's stormwater system. You're effectively managing the water rather than just fighting a losing battle against it. And finally, Section 5, wrapping up your project. Ultimately, it really all comes down to this idea. Getting it right the first time saves you a world of stress. Respecting the NSW regulations, taking the time to chat with your neighbors early on, and thoroughly managing your site's drainage, doing these things will save you from massive council fines and devastating structural collapses down the line. Just do it once, do it right, and enjoy the peace of mind. So, now that you're armed with this complete step-by-step knowledge of NSW regulations, the pathways to approval, and the engineering essentials, how are you going to confidently tackle your own backyard transformation? The groundwork is laid, the rules are clear, and honestly, your perfect outdoor space is well within reach. But who do you call to actually get it done? Well, this explainer was proudly produced by Excalibur Businesses Hub. For all your project needs, from premium products to trusted professional installations, you can contact them at 02-9056-7840, shoot them an email at sales@excaliburbusinesshub.com.au, or just visit their center, located at 541/547 Windsor Road over in Vineyard. Before you go, take a look out at your yard right now. Is it just a slope, or is it a blank canvas waiting for its foundation? Thanks so much for learning with us today.